Hey friends, I'm going to try to rapid fire this intro. Today's video is competitive gameplay without commentary, but of course I'm going to explain the build, starting with the armor set. If you hear a notification in the background, that's just RuneScape, don't worry about that. So the armor set I'm choosing is Swordmaster because if my smoke cloud hits, there's a notification. If my smoke cloud hits them, they do 10% less damage, which is ridiculously strong. And yes, you could pair that with Ferropotent, but at the time I just had Bushido armor, and honestly, it's great because what you do is you dodge to activate Reaper, Powerful Attraction creates an orb on the kill, orb collected equals devour, and you get some health back. That 40 health from just swapping weapons before your kill matters, because that can sometimes mean an extra hand cannon bullet, whereas Ferropotent activating on a single hand cannon bullet, you might still just die. Whereas that plus 40 health, you live. So kind of min-maxy, but either is the correct choice. You just have to play around it. So if you have Bushido, that means you are constantly swapping your weapons before gunfights. Now for the weapons, if I go to Destiny Item Manager, you'll see that I have 3 competitive loadouts that are just filled with weapons. And the reason for that is so that they all go into my vaults so that I have weapons ready to swap to. And when I say swap to, I mean swap to mid-match, almost mid-gunfight sometimes. Like I'll go into cover, or I will go invis and use toggle crouch so that I stay crouched, and in that time, I will swap to the appropriate weapon. So the most used weapon this season is an Adagio Cromil's Dagger. In this case, this one has Strategist, which honestly on Hunter only shaves about 1 or 2 seconds off per kill, so it barely is anything. But as you'll find out in competitive, you typically do have to carry your teammates, so that's where I'm going to argue every second counts. However, if you don't want to think about it, Slideways is also great, especially if you're running Gambler's Dodge. So I actually think I used the Slideways more than the Strategist, but I do want to mention it as it's my highest kill count. So here's how I play with my swaps. I go for a generic special weapon. If I see special ammo on the ground, I switch to Ergosum. And then if it's close to supers, I'll switch to a high impact snipe with Vorpal so that I can snipe other people trying to hit my mirror match with the Spectral Blades. I'll start off on a Adagio Cannon, and if I anticipate a long range fight, I'll quickly menu to a Scout. That's why it's the closest, because long lanes are typically what you use to spawn kill. Sometimes I'll go invisible anticipating a future close range fight, and I'll menu to a multi-mock. And then later in the round, I'll switch to a Vorpal Rose to kill supers. Sometimes I'll be playing against things like Boots of the Assembler Warlock, and for that, I need Hawkmoon. And since I'm using an exotic in this slot anyway, I'll move Rat King over to where my SMG is, and then I'll move Jade Rabbit to where my Scout Rifle is, and this will be my loadout. So why 6 Coyote? Why not Dragon Shadow? The answer is with the Strategist buff or with Hawkmoon, you don't really need the stability from Dragon Shadow. I don't really need the handling either because I'm really using Invis to give me radar manip every gunfight. So what 6 Coyote is doing for me, specifically on console, is that dodge breaks aim assist, which makes it harder to be aimed at. Which means that if I have 2 of these, that is twice the amount of chances to live against a slug or a fusion rifle. Also, it's 2 opportunities to proc Devour, which means 2 opportunities to clutch up. So this is what I used. These are the mods. One last thing to mention on the aspect here is Trapper's Ambush. You throw a smoke at the floor and you go invisible, which is amazing for making radar manip plays, as well as it gives you an air move, and you can make your entire team invis. But maybe don't do that, because if you make your teammates invis, they lose their radar and they forget how to play the game. Suppressor Grenade is amazing. Sometimes I will start on a different grenade entirely, and then I will switch to Suppressor when I anticipate supers. Finally, for power weapon, I just default Cataphract or Bitter End since it pulls so much ammo, but the correct answer is, of course, just switch to whatever makes the most sense for the map and the opponents. In my vault, let's talk about some useful swaps. Graviton Spike is similar to Hawkmoon. This high impact fusion with Discord goes crazy. Sometimes I want to use solar weapons, so I got Sojourner's Tail. Sometimes I want to use Wither Horde, so I have Void swaps similar to my kinetic weapons. Malfeasance is great against Boots of the Assembler. Chill Clip Glaive is sometimes necessary with Bakris. DMT for Vorpal Weapon on big maps. Wish Ender for cheaters if I'm playing on PC. Revision 0 for an alternative to Rose. Under Over Multi-Mock for fighting Wells of Radiance. Discord weapons. Chaperone, you know what to do with that, and so on. I'm not going too into specifics here because I don't want to spend 20 minutes. Healing auto rifle is also pretty good. And I think that covers everything you need to know. Enjoy the ASMR gameplay. There is no commentary, and I will see you in the next one. I also threw some last season matches in there along with some Stompy gameplay. It's pretty much the same thing. It's Void Hunter on controller. So this is what you do if you want to win.
Health.
GG's. I can finally take a shower.